Happy podcast day.
Are we live? Welcome to our podcast launch, everybody. Sorry for the technical delay, but you know what? It's great to have people supporting our podcast launch. And the official podcast is now on Spotify. Yay. And the 2 first episodes out already. So feel free to subscribe and go listen to our podcast on Spotify.
Perfect. So we are ready to start. And as you said, this event is a mix of, we are going to introduce our podcast to you, but also some different type of movements. So we're going to start with some mindfulness exercises just for all of us to be present and be here all together. So if you want to stand up, I'm just going to move this one here. So this is my favorite mindful exercise. So we are going to start with our hand onto our chest and the left hand onto our belly. And then you can close your eyes and just take a few nice deep breaths in here. Just being aware of your breath and noticing the rising and falling of your chest. And with this we can start moving our weight slightly forward and then a little bit back. And again, swing forward and swing back. We are going back to center, and now we swing towards the right and towards the left and to the right again and left. And now we're going to draw circles with our chest. So move your weight forward, to the left, back and right, and continue in the same direction. Noticing your breath and just letting everything else go. Just be here and now with us. Change direction. Back to center. Bring the palms together in front of your chest. Start rubbing your palms. Bring your hands over your eyes. Take one more deep breath in. And long exhale out. Once you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your hands down. Wonderful. You can sit down if you want or stay up, whatever you prefer. We first wanted to say thank you all for being here and supporting us in being here for the event or for the laser, for taking pictures and videos. Everything that you're doing means the world to us today. And I'm just going to get back my iPad so that I don't forget to say things. So we just wanted to tell you first a little bit of how the podcast came to life. It started as a project in between 2 friends. We were like, we have the same passion. We really feel strongly about this topic. Let's just talk about it. And even if just our parents and best friend listen to it, it's fine. And then as we started to record, we realized actually that a lot more people are interested in this topic and a lot of more people want to hear more. So this became a little bit bigger than what we originally planned, and we are really, really excited to be sharing this with you today. My name is Mariella. I think all of you know me. I am a yoga teacher and also a neonatal intensive care nurse by background. And
I think most people know me here already. I'm Beth. I am a physiotherapist and I specialise in chronic pain and performing arts medicine, mainly working with circus artists in London and some cheerleaders and musicians every now and then as well. I think this podcast is quite special because we started by, it's just basically us talking and people in acro, because we both do acro, but people kind of ask things about these things and I'm just like, oh, it's kind of bread and butter for me and trying to answer these questions. So sometimes just having a podcast platform to putting like our thoughts and knowledge together, I think it's quite helpful. And I think it's also very nice because the interest is definitely there. People is already asking me for like season 2 and having guests on it as well. So yeah, thank you all for joining. I think it means this project is kind of bigger than I thought it would have been. And the timing kind of worked well for me because for the people who know me, I have a quite big injury. I went through surgery about 6 weeks ago. So it's a great time for me to slow down and just record and yeah, just share what I'm doing with my own injury to make the most out of it. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think we can also tell you a little bit of how we met. Our friendship came like really casually. Beth came to see my acro performance, and she was like, "Oh, I love this! I should start doing acro." And then since then, we've been friends. And as we said, we share a lot of passion. And one of our friends in one of our WhatsApp group posted a question around, chronic condition and pain and injury. And then we both started talking about it outside the group chat, being like, okay, well, this and that. We will show you more. Yeah. So I don't want to give away too much before we show you the video. But then that's how, our friendship then brought something mindful together. We also wanted to share with you 5 of our favorite type of movement to help prevent back pain. So do you want to start with your one?
So with my movement, I'm going to sit down because it's easier for me. Mariella can do it standing. So I don't really know the actual names of these movements, but I just kind of came out with it. The first one, I call it the caterpillar. So what we're going to do, if you can do it standing or sitting, entirely up to you.
You've got 2 versions.
You've got 2 versions. So first of all, we're just going to drop our head down. And then you're going to drop our shoulders down, and then you're going to slide your hands through the shin and really just like rounding your back, letting go the weight of the shoulder. At the end of it, you can even just press your hands down into your shins, so feeling the stretch between your shoulder blades, and then slowly rising back up. So you're unpeeling from the bottom of the spine to the middle to top, and then the neck, and then back to the forwards. So we're going to do that 4 more times. So this is the second one, dipping your head down, dropping the weight of the shoulder. You can allow your hands to be really, really heavy. And noticing your breath. So if you're holding your breath, see where you can let it go. And it's not about how far you can reach, especially if you're standing. But just see whether you can unpeel from the bottom of the spine to the middle, to the top. And then opening again. So in your own time, we're going to do 3 of these more, rounding your back like a caterpillar, going towards the floor, and then gently rising back up. Personally, I like to take a breath in, and I extend long through the spine, and then as I kind of come down, I breathe out gently. Sliding my hands down, letting go of the weight of the shoulder, letting go of the weight of the back, the head, neck, and then coming back up. You're going to finish with one last one, dropping your shoulders, your upper back, middle back, lower back, all the way down, feeling the movement on each vertebrae of the spine and coming back up. So that's the first movement, caterpillar. The second one's rainbow. I know the weather's a bit grey today, but we're essentially going to draw a rainbow with our hands. So you're going to start by coming hands on one side. You can reach as far as you like or as small as you want. So you're going to draw across like the rainbow colour, and then you can follow your eyes to the hands to the other side, and then coming back around. So it's like a side stretch of the body. If you want the rainbow to be big, and have it really, really big and dropping it all the way down, and then you reach up towards the ceiling, fingertips towards the sky, really stretching it out if you like, and then reaching all the way across to the other side. So you feel like a small rainbow or a medium-sized rainbow. You can do a medium-sized rainbow just crossing the front of you. Sometimes I feel like we do so many things in front of us, and we could forget this side movement that can be really helpful for our spine because it does go sideways too. So this is the rainbow movement. And then the rainbow laser. So we're just going to do one last one to the other side, and then we're going to come back to the center before we move on to the next movement, and just stretch if you want.
Perfect. For the next one, it's better if you stand up. You can stay seated.
Thank you.
Just make sure you've got space and you don't touch the person next to you. Because we're going to be... so this is my favorite morning exercise, actually. And it's good for your back, but also to wake up all of the energy in your body. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. I generally do it with my eyes closed in the morning because it just makes me feel much better, but we can keep our eyes open. So we're going to start with tiny swings of our arms around. And then as you feel the momentum going a little bit more, you just let your hands swing more until your hands are kind of like slapping you.
Sorry, the chair. Try to be quiet.
Just let your hands be really heavy. And focus on how you feel on your spine. Like how does your back feel? Feel grounded to the floor and growing nice and tall through your head. And then we slow down the movement until you slowly come to a stop. But it's naturally coming to a stop. You're not forcing your body. Perfect. You're going to inhale, bring the hands up towards the sky. You're going to hold with the left hand the right wrist. And first, grow nice and tall towards the sky. And then you're going to stretch to the side. Keep breathing and just lengthen your body. If you do an office job, this is a really good exercise to do in between meetings. And back to center, we swap grip. Inhale, grow tall towards the sky. Exhale, we stretch. And back to center, release the hands. Back to you.
Yeah, so the last movement, some of you might have done Tai Chi before, is a very kind of, one of the kind of really foundation move in Tai Chi type of movement. Similarly, you can do it in standing or sitting. So if you're standing like Mariella, I want you to see whether you can just keep your knees soft, so gently bend your knees down and think about pressing the feet, the sole of your feet onto the ground beneath you. And you're going to start by just hands in front of your tummy. So like you're holding an invisible ball. So you can maybe just imagine this really light balloon, because I quite like balloons, holding this balloon in front of you. So what we're going to do next, we're gently allowing this balloon to float up towards the ceiling as far as your hands feel comfortable. And then as you get to your top, you're going to rotate your hands down and you're going to bring your palms down. Bring it back down, so bobbing it down. As you get back to your tummy area, you're going to rotate your palms up. We're going to breathe in, rising above. If it helps you to focus, you can actually gently close your eyes and breathing out, hands coming down. Imagining maybe this balloon in your palm, gently lifting up, taking a deep breath in. And a really, really slow breath, gently pressing it back down towards the floor. Another metaphor I quite like is an ocean wave. So maybe imagine your hands are like ocean waves, up and down the shore, rotating up to the ceiling, and then like the waves coming back down. You can pick your own speed. I like to work with my breath, so if my breathing is fast, my hand might go faster. But if my breathing's slow, my hands come down slower. Maybe keeping your shoulders soft too, letting go of the weight of the shoulder. Keeping the elbows soft, keeping your wrists soft, your fingertips soft, letting go of the weight of the pelvis as well. Taking a nice deep breath in, rising it above, and a gentle, slow breath out, bringing your mind's eye and really focusing on the sensation of the body. in your own time. We're going to do 2 more ocean waves. I can see that jumper there with the ocean waves as well. Love it. Allowing your breath to guide the speed and the size of the movement. And when you're ready, you can just bring some movement back to your body, like whether it's moving your fingertips, your ankles, rolling your neck or your shoulder. Just move however you feel like moving. And if you're standing, you're welcome to keep standing or take a seat as well. So that is the end of the movement for what we would suggest when people have back pain.
And now we have Q&A time. Does anybody have any questions for us about our podcast or us, just about us? We really encourage questions.
Welcome.
I don't think it's not in the right place.
Not in the right place.
What topics are you covering in this series, and what topics were you not able to do in this series that you want to cover in the future ones?
So you should actually start with the current ones. So we started kind of really broadly in terms of our topics, and then we kind of honed into more specific topics. So we started off just around, okay, injury, what do you do? What are the basic strategies or common strategies that people can use to kind of speed up your mind and body healing? So we focus around talking about soft tissue injuries. We talked about healing timeline. And then we go into using journaling and mindfulness and how body awareness plays an impact on the healing journey. And then further down the episodes, by the way, this will be released every other week. We'll talk about more specific conditions. So we've talked about back pain, we'll talk about hypermobility, we'll talk about the difference between a long-term condition or like a acute versus chronic pain. So things like if you just sprain your ankle, that's an acute pain that is managed differently to somebody have more persistent pain problems that is an actual long-term condition that might be managed slightly differently. So is that everything? Have I missed anything for the first
No, I think you covered everything.
Yeah.
I think it was important for us in this first season to share both the scientific side, so like all of the evidence base, but also alongside what are other things that can go along, like physio exercises, what else can you do? So we talked about like mindfulness, visualization, journaling. So which one are the other tools that you can use to heal? And any type of movement. So that's why we went with the name Growth Through Movement. And I think the second part of the question was what were the things we didn't wanted to, but we
do in season 2, or like if you were to do it again, like what would you do differently about that kind of thing?
I've got so many. Personally, I don't know, can't remember if I have told you that. I think it would be really good to have people who've been through quite a big accident or an injury and come out the other end and share their stories. I think it's really empowering because sometimes when you have an injury, you think, I never get back to doing those things. Or sometimes if you go to a doctor that's not sport specific, they'd be like, why did you do that? Never do acrobatic again. Something like that. But the truth is there are lots of people who might have an injury and then still go back to do acrobatic or performing arts. So I think it would be really nice to have those people's stories and see what works for them. So their experience are quite invaluable.
And also I guess talking about some other long-term conditions. So like in the first season we talk about hypermobility, but there's a lot more things that we could talk about in other seasons. I think
it would be really helpful if people listen to the first season and tell us what they want to hear in the second season as well. So let's say there are certain themes about certain areas of the body, because I know like circus artists for me, they'll ask about shoulder all the time. So that can be an episode on shoulder specifically,
or handstand.
We have like handstand community in London, wrist problems. So yes, more specific things, or even industry expert on that condition or that area. I think that would be quite things that I would like to include.
Thank you. That was a very good question. Anyone else?
What's your favorite thing about recording a podcast?
Oh, well, definitely for me, the bloopers. Like in particular in the first few episodes, like in the first few recordings that we did, it was like, okay, hi and welcome to our podcast.
I go again.
and
then we laughed it off.
Like, okay, let's start it again. Hi, welcome to our podcast. This is episode 1. And then we start giggling. So I think the first few episodes were definitely the bloopers are my favorite. They always made me smile every single day. And then I guess I really enjoyed the process of bringing our two skills together, like from like Beth as a physio perspective and me from a yoga perspective, and about mindfulness and how these two things can merge together, and like also looking at evidence base around all of the things around mindfulness and visualization and the power of the breath. So for me, the process of when we started thinking about, okay, what do we want to talk about? Let's think about this episode and how do we put our skills and knowledge together. For me, that was like the very invaluable part of creating this podcast together.
Yeah, I think when you asked that question, I'm like, oh my God, I just enjoy the whole process. But the main thing I really find it interesting is I feel like sometimes I talk about the same thing over again and you forget, oh, is this what the evidence actually still saying? And then it gives me an opportunity to just slow down and like look at the evidence and somehow realizing like the journaling, there's way more evidence than I thought there is. And it's quite validating that what I'm trying to do as a career, something that's quite meaningful and purposeful, it's backed up by science. So I'm not just saying things because I believe in it, I'm saying things because there's a wealth of other people believing in the same thing. I think it's really nice to have the opportunity to put that all together. And it feels like I'm working with a friend. It doesn't feel like work. I don't even think work is the right word to use. It's just something really exciting that I look forward to talk about. It's always nice to talk about things that you're interested in and passionate, right? So the podcast just had this opportunity. So I was very excited every time I record one. Yeah, so I did enjoy that. Yeah, I didn't enjoy the editing part though as much because I'm like, how do I use GarageBand? And then I'm like, why is there no sound? And then my sister's very technical. And they'll be like, Abby, and she's like, I'm not awake. But I'm like, but I can't edit this part. There's no sound. And so that is the steep learning curve. We got there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Any other questions?
What's been your favourite topic that you've spoken about so far?
Oh, I think I don't know if you have the same, but mine was the journaling, because I think we started that episode being like, okay, we're gonna just keep it short and quick and snappy, and then like half an hour later we were still talking. So for me it was that, and also as you've mentioned already, it's looking at how much evidence there was behind journaling for healing through an injury. That was really, I mean, it was really eye-opening. I've used journaling a lot. In my personal life, but then seeing how that can be applied also through the healing journey, that was really interesting for me. What about you?
I actually like the bonus episodes rather than the
also,
because we have like each time we try to keep it to like 15 minutes, but sometimes we just kind of go off a tangent. I'm like, okay, this is not in the script, but I want to talk about this. But my favorite is that we have 2 bonus episodes. One's Mariella doing visualization, one's me doing diaphragmatic breath. But because I think the bonus episode, I was just like so zen. I felt like I just had a session of mindfulness. So I really like the bonus episodes. That will be released towards the end, I think. Yeah. Thank you, Unity. Any other questions?
Can you talk, this is open-ended I guess, but can you talk on your inspiration? So I think yoga is like an obvious one and we all pretty much know each other through that, or forms of yoga. You mentioned Tai Chi. Can you talk more on that or like other sources of inspiration? And also, I think some of these practices come from the East. But you mentioned like evidence-based approaches, which is more like the Western sort of scientific approaches. So how do you manage those Eastern practices, like homeopathic origins, with the more, I guess, Western viewpoints?
Yeah.
Can you like just talk on that?
I really like that question because it really talks about, like I think there's a lot of ideas and principles. It comes from the Western side, and it could be from our own experience and our background. So my family's from a Chinese origin, so I always felt like there's when growing up, there is a huge element of, yes, there is the Western medicine, the drugs that can help you with pain, with the medical condition, or keeping things under control. But then there's always the other holistic side of herbal medicines, acupuncture, like special creams, and just other holistic ways on top of Western medicine. And when we are looking at the research, I think there is only so far sometimes Western science can go. For example, back pain and yoga. In the Western evidence-based perspective, they try to find the best exercise for back pain. They can't find the best exercise for back pain because back pain, there's so many other causes or reasons for why people can have back pain. So the Western actually try to learn from like the Asians in the East, where they started the research on, okay, maybe NHS did 6 weeks of yoga within the surface. What is the evidence for that, and what is the outcome? And then the outcome's often like really positive. And similarly for Tai Chi with pain conditions, they found that doing Tai Chi is really helpful for long-term pain management. And there's always around that theme of mind-body connection. So although I think the evidence actually catching up and supporting all the approach that comes from the East. Yeah,
I think for me I've like in the past few years I've like in my mind I've always had a bit of a fight in between. I'm a nurse and I qualified as an intensive care nurse, and like when I started my career I always felt like you do a lot of things. I worked in units that are like medical. But then like I've started to see that when we would take the babies out for cuddles, the baby that was maybe very sick, it would start feeling better, and all of their like vital signs would stabilize when they were skin to skin with their mom or their dad. And then like there is a little bit of research around skin to skin care in that, and I was like, well, that's not medical. We are not giving a medication to the baby. So like there's so much power into other things that we can put alongside the science. So like in the last few years since I became a yoga teacher, I've put the two things together and be just like, okay, yes, I believe in the science and in doing like things like medically as a nurse, but I also believe that you can put other holistic things to enhance that, or sometimes to even help better. I had myself really bad back pain. And I went to the physio, and like he was just like, well, you're just really stressed. You're having a hard time. There's nothing wrong with your back. Like you just have to relax and let all of the stress go. And I looked at him, and I was just like, I wasn't very nice. I'm not going to repeat what I said, but I did say, I don't believe in this. And he was like, can you try for a week to do some yoga exercise and tell me if, like, honestly, if you feel better? I just did it to prove him wrong. That was all. That's how I started yoga, just to prove my physio wrong. And then after a week, I actually slept, and my pain was better. And I just literally did some very gentle movement and some breathing exercise. So that then started me to look about evidence around yoga, because as a nurse, I was like, oh, I now want to understand how it works. And then like in my personal journey, I started to looking why things are working. And I've discovered that there's actually a lot of evidence around these things, way more than what I thought that there would be. And then I became a yoga teacher, and I always try to put these two things together, the science, but also an holistic approach to life. So yeah, I think my inspiration is like yoga, and then also looking at alternative ways of moving, because the same thing doesn't work for everybody. Or like when you get injured, you can't do what you love. Like, when I broke my nose, I was doing the handstand challenge and I couldn't go upside down. And I was really upset because like I put so much hard work into this handstand challenge, and look at my handstand. And then I couldn't go upside down because it was painful. And I was like, okay, what can I do that still will support me in this journey without going upside down? And then I, researched, spoke with friends, spoke with Beth. I was like, what can I do that I can still like improve, like I can still move without impacting like my broken nose and stuff. So we always start from us, and I think that's the key for like that's what we have in common. Like we have experienced a lot of these things that we talked about, and then we looked at, okay, but it worked. Shall we see if there was some evidence or if we were just lucky? And then we went back and we looked at the evidence, and then it's something that we can share, and hopefully it will help other people through their journey. Not just through injury, but I guess also life.
I think with doing this also makes me realize how much I don't know as well, because there's just, when you think about something and then you dip your head into it, like for example breath work, you're like, oh my god, there's so much more into it. I think my journey is through my own injury, and also like as a physio I have my own battles. So I was working in the NHS for the first 2 years. I actually nearly didn't want to be a physio, because I thought, I'm not helping people, I'm just giving them this exercise. I asked them to lift the hand up, and then 15 minutes later the next one I asked them to move this wrist, and they're not going to do it anyway. So I'm just like, what's the point? Because they're not going to do it, I'm just telling them to do this. And then they're like, it's not better. I'm like, no, I don't know what to do. But anyways, and then I reached a point in a career, I'm like, something's missing. I think in our education, in our training, it's very medical driven. And recently, the newer generation is a bit better about biopsychosocial, so thinking about the psychology and the social side. And I somehow, because I was trying to treat chronic pain, and now I'm like, I can't treat them, they're not getting better, there must be something wrong with me. And then I tried to look into it, and it ended up in a job in chronic pain because of the knowledge gap. And then that is the penny drop moment of, oh my god, the reason that people are not getting better is actually, there's so much to do with behavior change as well. So it's not just give you this exercise, you get better. You have to kind of look at your life holistically. So other things that impact it. Are you sleeping okay? Are you eating okay? I think if you literally think about Chinese medicine perspective, you'll be like, are you pooping okay as well? But yeah, so it's just, it's important. Are you drinking? How's your stress? How's your activity? How are you pacing? Yeah, so our body's so complicated, but at the same time it's so fascinating. And I think hopefully the message will come across in the podcast too.